Surprise! Gonna do about an hour and a half of streaming tonight. Noticed something I want to address right away. Wait, why does it have to build again? I just built it. I just built it. Wait 12 seconds. So if I make the image viewer about this size and I zoom in, I think it's not trying to go up to 20 or something. That's why we're not seeing that. So I ran into that with vertical ruler, so I think I'm going to do the same thing I did there to the horizontal ruler. I think it's adding 20 and 50 to the attempted intervals. They made that change to the vertical, but not the horizontal. Didn't think I needed it for the horizontal, but I think I do. But really 13.58 seconds? Okay, anyway. Yep, fixed now. Cool. Easy. Easy. I get it to glitch out. Funny how the 90 at the top reappears when the right bound goes from 100 to 99, opening up a little bit more space. Okay. I got a warning I gotta fix. Evening, Sir Nightshade Dude. Yeah, we got some stuff to do. Gonna mostly be doing refactoring tonight. Gonna be a shorter stream. That was easy. Two. See where this is done right now. What happens if I put that back to 0? It's not allocating enough space for the ruler until we get that size, and I'm wondering, is that because this is the actual optimal size and our math is off? How many more pixels did I have to allocate there? Go horizontal, that's not enough. I do have to substantially increase the size of the window to get that pop. think this might be dominated by something else. Hold on a sec, I need to cough. Need to hydrate. Okay. Here it is. There's a ruler cutoff ratio. I wonder why I did it this way. Out of curiosity, what if I compare individually, like x less than ruler width 4? Excuse me. Total size dot y is less than ruler height. Why I did that cutoff ratio thing. Oh, because of that. What's wrong with the math here? Wait, we're not considering the image height at all, are we? Shouldn't I be like adding image width plus self image height plus? Trying to avoid casting at the float by leveraging one of these other things that does that for me. See anything exactly right, so here, I'll just put it in there right now. Allow reason to do. Okay, that's correct now. Okay, I think I fixed it. So I don't actually need that ruler cutoff then. All right. I need to do anything else before I start to refactor. No, these are things to consider as improvements. I think we're going to review refactoring. So back to the to-do here. Oh, yeah. I'm wondering if I still need to have that fudge factor. That might have to stay as a to-do item until I try to see. Actually, well, it looks correct now. To verify that, didn't I do something where like in? Oh, I didn't hit save. That'd be why it seems to work. But I think at some point I print out the image scaling to see if it's precise. Hard to tell from this if it's precise or not. Uh, kind of remember where I did like where I have a handy variable that has the scaling in it. I can't remember now. Maybe it's just as simple as just printing this inner area along with the image size. The image size isn't a variable we can get directly, right? There you go. $112 by $112. That's not quite right, is it? I don't really want the image area. I want the inner size. That's the inner area's size. It's slightly shrunken. It's 104, 104. Weird. Huh. I'm curious, like at 104, 104, why is it showing the rulers? Hmm. Unless I'm getting a different number here. Huh. We're definitely losing like 17 pixels horizontally. Oh wait, that's because of the aspect ratio preservation. Okay, but that's not 70, that's 68 pixels for the ruler. Weird. Should be 60, not 68. So that's what that fudge factor was in there for, I think, right? It's like 8 off. Okay, anyway, maybe I don't need to worry about it too much. So it's gonna ever so slightly scale the image down. Ah, that's okay. Back to to-dos. I think I'm just gonna get rid of this fudge factor. This is reserved for later, or when we actually want to integrate this with something else. I think I am just gonna delete this. Funny, I should have a lot more to-dos. Okay, is this true? This splat 5 is repeated elsewhere? If not, I think this might be an old comment. Yeah, this is an old comment. Yeah, this to-do isn't catching everything, is it? So remind the to-do thing and look for the word to-do. Okay. Okay. Casting away the precision loss. Why are we doing that? I think I'm just going to leverage this one. Okay. One to do. Another precision loss to do. So do I have the same problem on the vertical ruler? Yes. I think we're going to explain it away. What is the reason? Counting increments. Counting increments. Converting increments into floats. Okay. Explained away. Okay, though this is a big one, and so is that one. Those are sort of the same, right? Yes, I am addressing the big elephant in the room. So if these have common arguments, which they do, then I think I think one way to get rid of some of these arguments is to make a struct that holds them instead. Left image, right image. Left image, right image, ruler Y. Yeah, okay. Okay, let's do it. Horizontal ruler. RS. Okay. We'll start by taking the function, the main function out and moving it over to the new module. And taking all these uses, copying them as well. Get rid of the syntax there. Oh, we still have a bunch of syntax errors. Import, imported, right? I need to review those because some of these might be, I can make them local to the horizontal ruler. Okay, and these are all supers. Okay, so I need draw horizontal ruler within bounds. So these two, I think, are moving out here. Okay, just need try drawing major horizontal intervals. Trial horizontal interval. Okay, and I need to fix up these. Fix up these warnings, but I also need to make this public for this to be should I qualify it and then just change it to draw? I think I will for now. Okay, then we just need to get rid of these unneeded imports. All right, cool. Make sure I didn't break it. And all the functions are now grouped together. Now I can turn into an object to remove remove a lot of the parameters. Okay, didn't break it. Good. Okay. So struct horizontal ruler. Okay, so we're gonna have like a public function new. And I need to make this public. Okay, so the idea here would be to do horizontal ruler new raw. Right. Give that a self. Or I guess it can own self. Why not? Okay, so as far as this class is concerned, it's fine. Do I really need to have both? I don't think I do. No need to have both. But what to collapse it to? Just new? Or draw? Or is this all part of new and then with new you call draw? I can't decide. I'm just going to call it draw. Combine new and draw together. So draw doesn't have a self. But see, if I want to not pass around a lot of arguments, I do want to make the structure and then operate on it. But can't I just say something like let this equal self? And then operate on this? Just gonna look a little bit funny. Because it'd be like this dot this dot this dot that. That makes me think that it might be better to do a new and then dot draw. Separate these from each other. So back to self we go. But I want to move all of these arguments into here. Okay, so I think that means I want to have all of that in here, right? Do have to give borrows for these things. I think here though don't need to name them. Oh, I do have to name it for those arguments to tell which one's which. Which means I have to have them twice. Declare them and then use them. It always gets me because like when you do the struct, you only need it in one place. So why do I need it? Why do I need it there and there? It's some kind of syntactical reason. But yeah, I think I can end that one and just say impl and leave these unnamed. So yeah, I'll be able to just, in fact, yeah, I think we just put self in front of everything here now. Okay, so here I don't need to do any of this. This, and I can get rid of this inner area, left to right. So all of these are part of self. Okay. So then all of these are self. Get rid of these two. Don't need too many arguments thing anymore. Don't need these two. Get rid of these two. That. Getting there. Need a bunch of extra selves. Clone the font. There and there. Cool. And this is telling me it can be const, and that is true now, but it's not going to be in a minute, I think. Because I believe I can like build in some of these. Well, hold on. Okay. Yes, I think we're fine. So what was this option? If let else. I think I can make this go away by turning these into returns. Although now it's going to complain that it's unnecessary return statement. So that didn't help. Let me address the other one first. Okay, this is the same thing as the other method. So this converting increments into floats is why we're allowing precision loss. Okay, now to address the if let else. The thing is that we want a side effect before we return the sum. So I think if I let it refactor this, it does that into iter find map or none. That's fine, but it doesn't like that because it's like map or none on an option is better expressed as and then. And then it doesn't like it because using option and then sum, it wants to see as a map. And that's where it didn't know how to fix it. Option and then sum. First express is map xy. Okay, I see how this works. So instead of and then, we just do map interval. It just didn't know how to apply that automatically for me. Is this easier to read? So this is the iteration to try. Into iter, find some scale that works with that passes the trial. And then if there is one, do this. Actually, that does look pretty good. So I think we'll keep that. The other thing I might do is refactor this to another method, maybe? This range, I only calculated once? No, it's calculated twice, right? So why don't I calculate that once in the new? And that is F32. Then I don't need to recalculate it everywhere else. Just do self.range. Okay, and then I want to see where it's actually used. Because, okay, we do self inner area width twice to get the pixel width. So why don't I compute that once as well? It's no longer constant anymore. Or no longer, it's still pub, but not constant. The width is an F32. Need to calculate this again. And I see I'm calculating half pixel width in more than one place. Makes me think I should, okay, so that don't need to do. So the half pixel width, can move that out as well. Okay. Oh, and I used that to calculate the left UI twice, didn't I? Okay. That means I really don't need that particular variable. I actually need left UI, right UI, right? Yeah. So I'm just going to take that out and calculate it once up here. Rid of self dot. Those are F32s. Okay. I don't think I actually need to store half pixel width. I think it's left UI, right UI. Okay, and then this is left UI. This is right self right UI. I don't need these anymore. Self dot left UI, self dot left UI minus self dot right minus left. Yeah, there's Sleepy T. Doing a bunch of refactoring on a image visualizer. Here, I'll show you what it is. So Programmable Parser I'm working on kind of looks like this. You can feed it any kind of file, and if you can describe the format of that file, it'll parse it into this stuff over here on the right. So I have a GIF format, and I'll show you that in a second, but see, it parses that file into this. So like if I click on there, that's the header signature, etc. So in these rendering blocks are these images, and I'm like, I'd like to actually show the image rather than seeing the raw pixel values. So that's why I'm making this other, where did it go? It disappeared. Is it hiding? Hiding some. It was hiding. There it is. Image viewer. I'm making this widget that I plan to plug in maybe down here or something. So you just have to imagine that instead of mousing over that image, you'd click on it and it would show you that frame of the image. Then maybe you click on the next one and it would show you the next frame down here in this image viewer. And I have a bunch of bells and whistles in this image viewer. So there's like rulers. You can zoom in. I want to make this image viewer widget like reusable. And this is all written in eGUI. Yeah, the Lua scripting is to automate different parts. And the parsing is kind of like Wireshark. And in the future, I might add different protocol format descriptions. The language I designed is sort of inspired by MPEG-4. If you ever worked on those standards, audio video, they described their syntax in a C-like language, and I really liked how expressive that was, and I kind of was inspired from that to make my own. So you can see the functions in my language are actually describing pieces of data, and the overall file is the largest piece, usually at the top of my of the description. So if I collapse everything, these 4 elements here are the same as these 4 rows here. There, and there, and everything else around that is syntax. So like loop is saying that we're going to have more than one, 0 or more datas, so it gets arranged into an array. And everything else is either like an instruction to the parser to parse at little endian. So that means if you take 1 bit, it's from the least significant bit first instead of the most. Because some formats are little endian, other ones are big endian. And stuff like this is like a look ahead, unsigned integer, 8 bits, and put it in the variable next. So it's like a local variable, so to speak, to do a look ahead to see if we should break out of the loop. With all that stripped off, the parts of GIF are basically these 4 things, right? And then these are described elsewhere in the file. So these kind of build on each other in like a composition. So all the way down to intrinsics. So there are only a few intrinsic formats. One's unsigned integer, another one's string, and that's ASCII strings, so like single byte strings. If you wanted UTF-8, you'd have to make your own UTF-8 type, which I actually did in JSON. So in JSON, I have UTF-8 character, and that pulls in, this is the complete description of UTF-8. And this is something where this is a candidate for something I might make into an intrinsic later. If I end up having a lot of UTF-8, then I would probably just make this a built-in, and this would be all faster because it would just be built in directly into Rust, rather than it being basically executed in an interpreter. So I have a compiler for this language, and that compiles format descriptions into recipes in memory, and then we walk through that kind of like how an interpreter will walk through a scripting language. So where Lua comes in is where I want to automate stuff like when I'm working on this image viewer here, I don't want to have to like find a sample image from the GIF file, even though I could do that. If I had this integrated in here, I just, every time I reloaded, I'd have to go through one of these and like click on an image. So Lua allows me to just write it into a file, kind of like a script, and say, read that file with this format, parse it, locate the color table, locate the image, and then show it on the screen. In the future, I think I also want to automate in the other direction. So it might be that you click on something in the parse data, and then it runs a script to figure out like maybe what more detail to show you about it. It's not just an image parser, it's an anything parser. Yeah, so I didn't think about doing the image viewer until I finished GIF, and I'm like, I'd really like to actually see the images because I know what they should look like because I can open it up in the operating system. Like, should be Pepe, right? But it didn't occur to me that I actually want to view it in my own UI until I got to this point. I'm like, how do I plot that? Because there's no built-in image viewer thing that has lots of bells and whistles I want in eGUI. the main part of the image, I am using eGUI's image widget and just giving it a texture. But to handle like zooming in and panning around and like a magnifier, these bells and whistles I just wanted to add. So I made that, and now I'm refactoring the code for that. So it all fits into eGUI as a widget, and so it should be easy for me to reintegrate it back into my main UI later. So turned out the most complicated parts of that image viewer were drawing the selection. So that's selection is when I mouse over, there's the cross showing you where the cursor is, and then the number on the top and the number on the left. And also if you hold down Shift, showing a magnifier. So all of that stuff is in one section of code that I refactored out to one submodule. Then drawing this horizontal ruler and drawing this vertical ruler, which are different enough that they have different implementation functions. I'm pulling those out into separate modules, and then the common parts I might pull into a third thing that the two ruler modules might leverage. But for now, they're going to be separate. Yeah, eGUI is pretty good. I like it so far. So yeah, this ruler. Now I'm pulling out all of the calculated locations and sizes and font to use, and then the UI context from eGUI. It's all pulled out as an object that is immediately drawn. So the new is calculating a bunch of things up front, and then you just call draw, and it consumes self to draw it, right? But that allows me to split things up into sub-functions, and because they're also methods on the same type, I have a lot fewer arguments. These arguments should optimally be completely gone, but there are some things right now that I'm calculating. Yeah, like this, if this ruler line Y, I could just calculate that once and I wouldn't have to pass it to try drawing major horizontal intervals, right? That's another candidate for something to put into the self. But I think where I was is I had this half pixel width. All right. So the left in UI coordinates and the right in UI coordinates. We calculate once and then we stuff it into the state, and then it's just used down here. So the goal would be, as I'm refactoring, to put like the common like pre-calculated variables into the struct and just use them in the draw here, and that the draw actually be readable. So like this, since we calculated once up front, I could stuff it into self, so I wouldn't have to pass it around. So I think that's what I'm going to do next. So I just take that out, put it in here, take off the self. That is an F32. And then what did it not like about that? Ruler line Y. Oh, I didn't move it up here. That shouldn't be here. I put it in the wrong spot. Okay. I traced down the error. So here, all these places are where I can now put self in place. There was a more intelligent way. I could have just selected all occurrences of that. But I didn't think of that until just now, and I'm almost done. So it's what it is. Okay. So where I passed that ruler line Y, I can just get rid of it. Say self dot. And then don't need to pass it anymore. What about text baseline? Text type minus that. That's reused. I don't know about that one. But interval bounds. That one's completely local to here, right? It's mutated and used here. So that doesn't move in. Okay, I think I want to refactor this to a function. And we're going to call it draw minor intervals. And that can allow me to then take that and move it to there, which is nice. Because now where we're doing this converting increments to float is more local. So the goal would be that each function fits like in more or less one page, so this doesn't quite. So I can just reduce this to draw intervals, and I can say if let sum, then I can just delete this. So we try drawing major horizontal intervals, and so I don't need to say horizontal because now we're in a module that has horizontal as part of the name, so we can just say try drawing major intervals. So we tried drawing the major intervals, and if we got one, if we did draw it, then we would try to wouldn't this be hold on. How did I oh, this, wait, didn't I have range? Yeah, it isn't we don't have to calculate range again. Right image, left image plus 1, right? Yeah. So I don't need that. That's self.range. Hey there, Stripe Monkey. How are you? The unexpected stream. I don't usually stream on Tuesdays, but not much is going on in World of Warcraft. So we're doing a little bit of work on refactoring today. Right, so we did this. I don't need that allowed. I was just looking at this and wondering, like, this interval thing, why is it broken out here? And maybe it's because of the way I did this one. This is really doing two things, right? This is the first part of what it's doing, to see if it should draw major intervals. And this is the second part where it actually draws them. But it also has to return whether or not it drew something, because that's what we use to decide if we are going to try to even consider drawing minor intervals. So why don't I just call this try drawing minor intervals? So if we get one, then actually draw them, right? Yeah. So the try drawing, the part that actually draws is here, right? Function called draw major intervals. Why am I doing it that way? This should just be moved out. Don't need to do a let. That's an F32. Don't need to return anything. Unused. Great. Delete them. And then the incrementing is actually done when we really draw. So can I just move that directly on the for loop there? I can. The closer I can make the lint exception to where it's actually used, the better. And then now that I have these inside of an impl, I can leverage the sort methods alphabetically to have that done for me. Okay, and then so now it's a lot easier to read, right? If let some major interval, try drawing major intervals. Or sorry, try drawing major intervals. If we got one, then draw the minor ones. Actually, then I wonder if like rather than just returning it and then calling it, shouldn't this just be draw no. I was gonna say draw intervals and then inside of it, it could draw the major and then the minor, but it's actually nice to have the concerns separated. So it's like, try drawing the major ones. If we did draw them, we get the interval out. And if we did it, then we try drawing the minor intervals with the major interval. And that one has an internal thing to say if, and I guess the try, the tries look pretty much the same, right? Only this doesn't have to return anything, so I use the if let syntax. If I need to return something, we would do the map instead. Oh, this trial? I can make another one here just to make it more readable, right? So this is trial major interval. So let's make this other one, what is it? Trial major. Yeah, the trial, that's this thing, right? Yeah, this right here. Extract into function. Trial minor interval. And this messes up sometimes by making it own self. We don't want it to own self. And that does not need to be a reference. And actually that allows me to cut these off. Make that easier to read. So that's another reason to do that. Yeah, we just dereference it once there. Okay, and then I get to sort again. All right. So again, I don't need the word horizontal. And I'm wondering if I even need the word ruler, because that's also part of the name. We'll just draw, but text. We draw text in the main part of the ruler, don't we? Yeah. Oh. The only difference is one's an if and one's we always draw. The other one, or if within bounds, and the other one's within bounds. Those names are kind of close and I don't like that. But yeah, I don't think I need the word ruler in there either. Also, draw is in the front of a lot of these methods. So this is draw text within bounds. Okay. I'm not the best at naming things. How are we doing? Border path, draw, I don't need to say draw. Left and right edges, intervals. Actually, do I even need those comments anymore? If I refactor this to be edges, draw edges. What are we returning out of that? Text baseline and interval bounds. Baseline. Interval bound. So if I move the text baseline out, then this just becomes the interval bounds. Well, maybe draw edges. That should be apparent, right? Or am I going to remember what that rect means? Probably not. So what if I say draw edges and determine interval bounds? That makes more sense to me. So this has to borrow self. Get rid of that error. And then text baseline is passed in. F32, right? And that needs the text baseline now. And this just returns interval bounds. This has the extra benefit of also it's only mutable inside the function, and then once it gets out, it's immutable. That's better separation there too. All right. I know I'm on the right track in refactoring when it finally starts to seem like everything's separated well and has better names, or a name in the first place, where it didn't have a name when I first started the refactoring. And as long as I don't actually break the functionality or cause any glitching or anything to this horizontal ruler, then it's good, right? We're all good? I think we're all good. Okay, so let's do another sort pass. How come it won't let me? Oh, because we're in the wrong place. Oh, I can't sort anymore. Well, I enjoyed it while it lasted. Do I need to manually sort this? Oh, I guess it's already sorted, and is that why it doesn't give me the option to sort? Draw edges and determine. Okay, so now I think I can get rid of all of these, or maybe just give this a name. Then I can get rid of it. The comment. This would be draw border path. Borrow self. Right. So the objective would be to remove the comments, and is it still readable now? Draw border path. Text height is that. Baseline's that. Interval bounds. Draw edges and determine interval bounds. Try drawing major intervals. If so, draw the minor ones. Good. The border path is that line. Edges determine interval bounds. Full interval bounds is that. Do I need a borrow there? Yes. I never use the full interval bounds. So why am I making a variable for it? Why don't I just let mute interval bounds equal that? I think at one point I was using it, but I'm not anymore. So draw text within bounds. If we get a bound, then we're drawing it. So no, sorry. This is how to draw. This is arguments to draw text within bounds. If we get one, then we're adjusting the interval bounds to not draw over that. Same thing with the right, and then we return it. Okay, and then major intervals. So we get the first and last. This is like first column, last column, right? First pixel, last pixel. Did I name it that? So we take a marching sequence into floats. We multiply by the interval and add So starting at the first pixel, we add the interval as we're marching up until we pass the last pixel, and we're calculating the position of it. It's the left UI coordinates plus the mark minus the left image coordinates, and then this is the conversion from image coordinates to UI coordinates. Now, do I do that more than once? Because that might be a common function. I do. Look at that, I do it twice. Do that? Same thing in both places. So let's refactor that. Extract into function. So this is what exactly are we doing here? We're converting UI to pick position image to UI. And this is position. So I get to use that here. Mark. What am I trying to do here? That. Like, forgetting how to use my own keyboard. Right, so then that's only used in one spot. And this needs to be sorted again. Will it let me sort it? Nope. Oh, yes. There we go. Sorted. Thank you. All right. So yeah, position is position image to UI coordinates with that taking that mark, and then draw text if it's within the bounds. And this is very readable now. And then draw the line. Okay. This text baseline is only in one spot, right? Text baseline. Oh, it's used in two places. It's also used in drawing the edge. Right, well that makes sense. For the left and right markers. Okay, so major and then minor. I can do the same thing here where I can move the lint exception closer to where it's actually used. Okay. The first pixel, isn't that the same thing? It's the same math, so maybe I can extract that as a function. So this would be what? Position given an interval? I kind of feel like when we calculate it once here, maybe where this is used, like if we don't actually know what it is until we get here. And then I would have to return it and pass it back in here. So maybe that's fine. Because we need that major interval for both the trial and the draw, right? Yeah. Okay. I could extract that so it'd be a function from self given some interval. Okay, yeah, let's check that out. And what about the other one? The other one being the last. Need that. No, because this just goes to the right edge. Okay, so really this is the only one that's common. So what to name that? First, first interval position in UI coordinates, right? No, it's in image coordinates. Okay. Then I should be able to like reuse that in the other function down here. That. And let's resort. And make sure I didn't break anything. This is all the horizontal ruler. Next, I gotta do the vertical one. And then once I've refactored both, maybe there's some common stuff that I could extract out and reuse in both. Like there's probably some stuff about some of that basic math that we can put in one place. The more of the complicated math I can put in common places, the better, right? Like computing half pixels, although that's sort of self-evident. It's 0.5 times something is a half. Okay, where was I? Draw minor, right. First major's first interval position image major interval. That's correct, and we use that to do this. This is like going backwards from the first major. Why do we do this? Oh, yeah, it has to be aligned with the first major, but we go back as far as we can, which is figure out how many minor ticks back from the major tick. Floor that, and then add it to the first major, and in to the left. Yeah, okay, got it. That I had to think about that math for a second. I wonder if I should name that like first minor tick backtracking to the left of the first major tick or something. I don't know. Calculate first minor tick position in the image. I don't know. Anyway, this we could refactor because that's in two places, right? In fact, that way I can minor. Yeah, I can further constrain this length thing. So in fact, I can take the whole thing as a function on, well, hold on. It still has to be a closure because I have to capture these two variables. And they're not passed in through the capture. So it would be this much that I would refactor out. So what do we call this one? This is interval position. Well, calculate. I need a name. Given an interval, a first pixel, and the number and a number of the nth. It's the It's the pixel of the nth interval passed. So it's like nth interval pixel. And then this is like first. So it's just taking a number and converting it to a float, multiplying it by interval and adding first. So it really isn't even has anything to do with pixels. It's just nth interval. And the only other twist on it is a float. And it's packaging up. So, well, nth implies integer. So I guess that makes sense if interval is a float. Yeah. So we can reuse that now. Where is it pulled from? I can do a all history to find it. There. So I can, yeah, that was the whole point, was to find that and take it out and put it here. Not gonna let, oh, sometimes it lets me put on what I think is an expression, and sometimes it doesn't. There it let me do it, which is nice. So I can find the other place where this is done, right? In the minor, draw minor intervals. Yeah, right here. So just copying that line for a sec as a reference, it would be nth interval, minor interval, first minor, n, right? Yep. Cool, so then I can get rid of this lint thing, and even better. Map n to the nth interval minor. Okay, the more readable this becomes for me, the better. Take while that. I wonder if I can make an iterator that packages all of this up. Like it would be intervals from, and it would create an iterator that would basically just return this. Because that's now the same, right? Yeah. Well, except for this is a less than or the other one's a less than or equal to. This one's a less than. Why did it? What's that? Why is that a less than or equal to? Because the last pixel actually might need a tick on it. Versus this where I didn't calculate a last there. That's why. See, the only reason I'm using last pixel is to use it in that. So I'm wondering if I can just use right image. Yeah, why can't I just use less than self right image here? Yeah, I think I can. Then it's the same and I can refactor this out. But I'll hold on to that for just a sec, just so I can test this and make sure. Then I can have fun making an iterator. And oh no, we got a core dump. Why did I get a core dump? That happened once before, like a couple weeks ago, and I never figured out why. And I'm wondering if it's some instability in the virtual machine. Because I just run the same thing again and it works. Anyway. Zooming in. I mean, it looks like it's drawing the correct number of ticks, no matter where I scroll. So I'm gonna say yes, that worked. So then I don't need this, and then I can have fun making this into an iterator. So this seems to me like it's a great, like, overall reusable thing. So I'm just gonna make a new thing called interval. Intervals? Should it be singular or plural? I think it's plural if it's an iterator type, right? So you could say for mark in intervals, and then you give it the arguments. So struct intervals. For this to not complain to me, I have to actually go to the top here and do mod intervals. Okay, and then this needs to be public. And then we have impl to make a new one. Would it just be new? And then the important part is implement iterator for intervals. And the item is going to be an F32. And this is where I would put this. Okay, and then we're going to take nth interval and copy that. And actually, I don't even need a struct. I just really needed something to button that up. So I don't need a struct at all. I would just say like intervals given something, and that's an implementation of iterator. Item equals F32. Right? And then I put that in there. We just let it be generic, right? So it's just like this. So that interval is F32, and then first is F32. And then we need last or bound. And that's this right here. And why does it not like this? Oh, move. And move. Why did this? Oh, to move the bound in, that's why. And then it is used. It's used right here. Oh, it's not used because this is not used, but we're gonna fix that right now. So horizontal ruler, get rid of nth interval so we can break it in two places, and then replace this with for mark in intervals. Interval first pixel self right image. Oh, yeah, that's a problem, right? It didn't know to do that. Now it does. So same thing here. Intervals. Minor interval. First minor. N. Or not N. Self right image. I kind of feel like that it should be the first interval should be swapped. But maybe I'll just keep it for now. All right, I really like that. Because then I can reuse that for the vertical stuff too. Did not break anything. Looking good. All right. What's this thing? Oh, this is if we don't draw a minor tick over a major tick. We skip those. And then calculating position once because I use it for both line segments. Right. Okay. A text if within bounds. Interval bounds. Okay. Oh, I remember. This is probably going to be refactored between the two rulers because it's pretty much the same except for the top left position is calculated in a different way depending on the alignment. And same thing with draw text within bounds. The difference between these is we draw it only if the bounds contains the rectangle, and this is where we force it to be inside by clamping it. So we always draw it right here. We always draw it, and we force it in. Actually, it's not true. If we this is a check to see if we can force it, because before I had that, this would actually panic. If this is greater than that, it panics. So we do a check first to see that the width plus the margin needs to be within the width of the bounds. Otherwise, it's impossible to get it to fit. Hey there, ICS Boy X. Good morning. Doing some refactoring today. The code that draws the rulers of my image viewer that looks like this. Whoops. Part of a larger project to show a user interface for a parser tool. So here's the parser tool, and right now it parses images, but there's no way to actually show like the plot of the image. And so I'm working on making a widget that will do that and let you like zoom in and inspect and all sorts of stuff. I'm going to plug that back into the UI of my programmable parser. It's programmable because it doesn't just understand this particular file format. You can teach it any file format. There's a language you write the formats in. I'm using GIF as an example, so just really briefly, here's what my parsing language looks like. So conceivably, you could do the same thing for JPEG or PNG or even non-graphical things like audio or text or protocol packets, anything. I'm hoping to make the format language flexible enough to support any conceivable kind of serialized data. So it's interpreted at runtime after the recipe is compiled into like a in-memory representation that's interpreted to do the parsing. So you see like the top level structure here, header, logical screen, data, and trailer shows up here, and data is an array because it's inside of a loop. So working on refactoring, because I have this image viewer is pretty much done, and the code that draws this and intelligently picks the intervals and draws them and works when you scroll and prevents overdraw, all that complicated stuff I have forced into this module called horizontal rulers, and into the different methods like drawing the different kinds of intervals, trying out different intervals before drawing them, all that stuff. I think I need to sort this again. Maybe not. We'll see if it needs sorting. No. If it needs sorting, I found out it would add a third option here to sort, but since it's not there, I think that means that it doesn't need sorting. I'm decoding or decompressing. I can show you the decompression. So GIF is actually really basic. It uses LZW compression. And so this is the decompression is this right here. So we loop on all the input tokens. We read an input token. We handle the clear code by reinitializing our table, which we did up here. And we have an end of information code, and that's how we break out. If it's not one of those special codes, then there's different cases of whether the code is the next one to be added to the table, or if it's already in the table. We do different things, and then it, what's last again? I guess that's how the decoder works. It remembers the last symbol so that it can tack on the next to the last and add it to the table. And then here's where we bump up the code table size. And here's where we reassemble the output from the code table. So this is how you describe the algorithm in my parsing language. You can look at the Wikipedia article and compare it, and it'd be pretty close. So I would say that since this fits almost on one screen here, it's a pretty simple decoding algorithm. I have no idea if JPEG or PNG, how complicated they are in comparison, but I'd imagine that they are more complicated. Funny thing is, this compression scheme was patented by CompuServe back in the day, and there's a big stink about that, and that's why PNG was invented. It was a royalty, patent-free version alternative to GIF. You just use Turbo JPEG for JPEG. My understanding is that JPEG uses discrete cosine transforms like DCTs, and that's more what do you say? More like natural image based, so you get better compression for natural images, but it doesn't do so well with artificial images like screen grabs of text editors and stuff like that. So they're like ping is usually better, right? But either way, like I think the compression used in JPEG or ping are a lot more complicated than this. So that's one reason actually I chose GIF, because I can describe the entire format in 308 lines of my parsing language. I'm sure the others would be thousands. Hey there, Dev with Ricardo. You're capturing webcam for background removal? Yeah, I mean, most people just use an existing decoder. I'm not making this programmable parser to replace any decoder. It's mostly for fun. And I imagine this tool will be useful if you need to repair a file, because you can click on individual pieces of the file and it'll actually show you where it is in the data, the overall output data tree, and it goes in the other direction. So if I wanted to like see where the image width of the first frame was encoded, it would be right there. And so if there's damage to the file, it would show, the parser would have a trouble, and it would show it in red and usually stop there, and so we could see exactly where that was in the file. And then thinking really far ahead, if I allowed you to edit and hex edit this and reparse it in place, you could maybe repair files. Also, you could use this to reverse engineer data, because you can just kind of figure out from the bytes and say, oh, well, that's probably a header. And then like if you knew that the image was 112 by 112, you would see these 70 hex and you'd be like, oh, I think that's the width and the height. So you make intelligent guesses and figure out a format using this tool as a convenient, like turbocharged text editor, really. Okay, yeah, I think I'm done refactoring the horizontal ruler. So I need to get the vertical ruler, and then I need to extract the common parts of both rulers. I don't like how jumbled this is. Can this tell me, can I sort fields? Yes, I can sort fields alphabetically. And it'll even sort it there. Isn't that cool? Oh, to learn how to use Rust, you were capturing the webcam? Hey, whatever works for you. To learn Rust, I followed the guides online. And then I did Advent of Code. And I don't have a command for that, but that's a programming challenge every December, like December 1st to 25th. I've also tried LeetCode. I don't know, whatever works for you. Also using ORT for ML integration. That's cool. Is that a Rust crate for machine learning? I haven't gotten into that yet. Should have a browser window up anyway. Home, and then libs, and then ort. A safe Rust wrapper for optimize and accelerate machine learning inference and training. Used by, it's got 282,000 recent downloads. That's cool. I'm really happy to see like there are crates for almost anything you can imagine nowadays in Rust. Even embedded projects. So I ended up making my own keyboard with its own firmware in Rust because the chip I selected had a hardware abstraction layer crates already made in Rust. So that made it really fun because I didn't have to figure out the hard lower level details at all. I just leveraged the crate for the chip I was using. Raylib for output. Okay. Yeah, there's gonna be some work here. I had a comment here on purpose because it wasn't evident that it was center bottom alignment. So when I extract that out, I think it's going to end up having an enumerated type with names so that we don't have to have a comment. Okay, yeah, thanks. That's cool. Hope you're having fun with that project. I buttoned up some of the complicated math to give it a name and for reuse. So, see what else might I do. I think I'm happy with this. So, I'm gonna use this as a model to do the same thing for the vertical ruler. Although I am running out of time, so the question is, can I do this in 0 minutes? Actually, should have started winding down 15 minutes ago. Yeah, I really shouldn't get into this tonight. I should probably keep this for tomorrow night. So all I'll do, I know, I'll make the stopping point where I'll extract the functions as is into this module, and then it'll be straightforward for me tomorrow to remember what I was doing. This is the wrong place, right? This needs to go in. There we go. So yeah, we're just going to pull out these functions that are obviously having something to do with the vertical ruler. And we're just going to take them and just cut them out of one and paste them into the other. All the imports, I'm just going to copy the imports just to quickly resolve a lot of these errors here. And then the rest of them should just be importing the constants. Okay, so the remaining ones of the functions I still need to grab. So it's just one. Just one. I need the try drawing one. This one. Yeah, the one that's gross. And probably the trial vertical interval too. So paste that down there. Import that constant. And then these all, I prefer to use a super for, because the way I see it, they don't need to know what part of the crate they're in. They just reach up to their parent to get that stuff. Then I can remove all the unused imports. And that's fine. And then this just needs to import this one, which means I need to make it public so that I can import it or qualify it. So this is going to become, tomorrow I'll make this vertical ruler new .draw. Right now it's not refactored yet. So, I was hoping that by doing that I could remove some of this guy's imports, but it looks like that is not the case. I want to make sure I didn't break it, and then this is a great stopping point. See if someone else is doing programming, can rate them, or else I'll just end the stream. So yeah, I'm trying to get my schedule to end around 11 p.m. Pacific and start around 8 to 8:30. Today is sort of an extra day. Usually just going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then one weekend day that I haven't settled on yet. Okay, it's not broken. We're still good. We haven't broken anything, which is accomplishing one of the goals of refactoring, which is to not break anything, but hopefully to have the code easier to read and each individual file smaller. And we're already meeting the files small enough. The easy to read part, we're not done yet because these functions are still gross. So that's what I'm going to be working on tomorrow. These two, you got your shot of rhyme. That's right. That's right, Dev Ricardo. I started a little late, but hey, I wasn't supposed to stream tonight anyway, you know? Can you pack it into the prelude? That's one thing that I don't really like to use. So in Rust, there's the concept of the prelude where you can say like use standard like that. I think it's prelude. And you don't even have to say that because the prelude is auto-imported. I like to be precise on what I use because that's one way that I measure is something refactored out well enough. If I can minimize the number of imports without leveraging a prelude to bring in hidden stuff, then that makes me happy. Prelude kind of obscures to me like what I might be using from the crate that I'm pulling in. So I try to avoid preludes. Where I've broken down and used a prelude standard library because no, I still don't use the prelude for the standard library. There's one crate I was using, and I can't remember which one, where they forced me to use the prelude, and I was very sad. And that was the only time where I actually had to do that. But it's just a personal preference. I know a lot of people just don't really care what they import. So like they might look at this and say, "Wow, that's gross. Why don't you just use the eGUI prelude?" Which probably is one, right? But then this kind of reinforces the fact that I am really dependent on eGUI and all of these different responsibilities, I guess. So I'm this thing is bound to colors, fonts, images, pointer, but so there's all these things that image viewer uses. And I kind of like being able to see that long list, both to remind me that it's heavily coupled with eGUI and that really there shouldn't be anything below eGUI. Like I don't want to see any WGPU, WINIT, none of that stuff. And yeah, if it was just one line saying use eGUI prelude or whatever, then I wouldn't like how it would be obscuring how much of eGUI I was using. It's all subjective. I don't know why I'm justifying it. Maybe I feel guilty. I don't know. This is one thing that maybe should be in the standard library, because I think this is a common thing that might be used elsewhere. And this is doing two things. It is turning an integer incrementing thing into floats, and then starting at one point and ending at another point. So, but since I couldn't find it in the standard library, I'm keeping it here. But if someone were to tell me, hey, there's something in the standard library that does that, I would just use that instead of this. Yeah. I do have the tendency to talk too much, and because chat doesn't say shut up, I just keep going, and then I realize, I've probably been talking about that too much. Some of these files so that next time, not cluttering my bar up here. Okay, so did I actually complete anything? I got halfway through that. I didn't do that, I didn't do that, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. Okay, so I didn't do any to-do items. But I did partially refactor. So hopefully finish that tomorrow. So while I figure out where I'm going to either raid or not, I'll put this up on screen. Give you folks a lovely sample. That would be like fitting in around here somewhere. Image data. That goes with that. So, what's going on in the rest of Twitch right now? I need to like find some more software game development streamers who actually do game development this time of night, because there's like no one is actually doing programming that I see. So I'm gonna have to leave it with you guys to find someone to go watch now. There are chunks in standard. You don't know if that can help? Okay. Before I go then, I'll give it, let's give it a quick look. Chunks. Because maybe I should consider using something like that. Returns an iterator over chunk size slice at a time starting at the beginning of this slice. So I'd have to start with some array, right? This operates on what? A slice? So I'd have to have a slice of something. I think what's different about what I had in intervals is that it's kind of like a generator. It's making an iterator from a base iterator over integers. Which so that's built into the language, and really I'm just decorating it by saying I want this to map into some range of intervals. And also the twist is that we're converting it to float on the way out. So chunks would work if I already had it bounded in an array or a vector or something like that. But it's good to check that stuff. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow probably around 8:30 Pacific time. So have a good rest of your day or evening. See you later. Bye-bye.